Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. I'm officially on my second cup of coffee, and as you can see, I truly do love Canada. So when I tell you guys that I'm going to Canada, I truly do mean that not only do I want to go to Canada, but I love Canada. So, sorry, I could not resist. I've actually been letting this coffee sit for a little while. So I'm trying to gulp it before it goes cold. Oh my word, that was so much better. Oh, there's that mint that I put in there. Oh man. Anyway, so I wanted to talk to you guys about what I was kind of discussing at the end of my last YouTube video, which is more or less how to keep Jesus as the number one reason for the season. We all have various reasons why God is not number one in our lives. It could be you're not religious and you just don't care, or you're not religious and it's never been a priority of yours. It could also be you're working too much. Same here. So where was my hand? It could be you're just too focused on schoolwork right now. I know there's college students out there that are just trying to get through or just finishing up right now. And then their jobs are expecting them, so they're extra stressed out right now. Or you could be that person. Sorry, I have cat hair all over me. Anyway, yeah, you could also be that person that may not necessarily celebrate Christmas. You may be like, I'm more of a Hanukkah kind of person. I mean, I didn't say that you had to celebrate Christmas though. So the point is, whatever you celebrate this month, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or Passover or whatever you're doing, to always remember to keep God, or Jesus Christ, whatever, as your number one priority. Another one that I've heard, forgot to mention, is I'm too busy buying presents for everybody. Make sure everybody got the same one. The last one I would expect to hear, but I might hear this one. I'm too busy commuting to work. I don't got time for that. Well, everybody has 24 hours in a day. More or less of those 24 hours, how much of that time are we actually awake? Versus how much of that are we asleep? So I roughly start my day anytime between 7 to 9 in the morning. Tomorrow, I'll be up anytime between 7:30 to 7:45 a.m. I may not necessarily be thinking too much about God during that time I'm getting ready, but once I get in that car and I start that 30-minute drive to the Ark Encounter, there is various things I could be doing to focus my time while I'm driving. I could listen to secular music. I could listen to music from my dad's time. I could listen to the radio. I've been listening to Star 93.3 lately. They've been playing all types of Christmas music, whether it's Christian or whether it's secular. And the whole point of why they're doing it is just to point people back to Jesus Christ. And I'm really proud of them for that. Well, I've gotten kind of tired of the advertisements, so I decided, well, I'm going to switch over to my music. I listen to music on Spotify. It's just music I've kind of compiled together. And yes, I admit that the music does not officially belong to me. However, though, I am kind of renting it for about $10 a month, give or take. And then I can listen to it anywhere pretty much in the United States, just not Canada, because it's an American company. So kind of stinks. I may be able to listen to it in Canada, but then again, I haven't tried in so long that I don't even remember. Not that it matters, because I probably wouldn't listen to it up there anyway. But another thing that crossed my mind that I wanted to talk to you guys about to help you guys out. How many times have you gone to work, college, or whatever, and been in a good mood, been in a meh kind of mood, and then have been in a horrible mood or just a bad mood? I've been in all three, and they all just kind of vary throughout the week. And then the days I'm in a really bad mood, I want to turn the music way up and just kind of sit there doing this number, and just, I don't want to be here. I don't want to go to work. I want to go home. And then the days I'm kind of in mid mood, I'm just kind of sitting there like behind the wheel like this. And the days I'm in a really good mood, I'm behind the wheel like this. I'll call up TJ. TJ, what up? This kind of deal. All right, Tristan, what's going on, my dude? It all depends on your mood, and sometimes I'm on my way to work, I'm in a really good mood, and then the moment I get to work, my mood, I go from this to this. Sorry to make the laptop shake like that, but that's what I'm trying to get at. It's kind of annoying. Have any of you been there before? I'm sure of it, though. So, I have a really good memory verse that might actually help you guys out. Because there have been many times when my mind is racing, especially when I'm at work. I'm constantly thinking about what's going to go on the next day, the next week. I'm going to use a perfect example of this. So I'm sitting there in the theater back on Tuesday, November 9th, right? And it's 2 days till my birthday. And just right in the middle of the movie, I just got hit so hard. I bet the devil is just trying to get to me. Regarding how am I going to get my COVID test for my trip to Canada? It's over a month away, and I'm panicking about it now. I should be panicking about it right this second when I'm 10 days away, but at this point, I've already got it all figured out. Everything is good to go, but we're talking something that was over a month ago, and it just hits me out of nowhere. And that's why I should have honestly thought about this memory verse, so I'm going to share it with you guys right now. I don't know if I've frozen on the camera or not, but it says, "Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble." And I know it's very hard to think about that quite often when, you're depressed, you're stressed out. Sorry, I got an email from work. It wasn't that important. And you're frustrated. And then you're just like, oh my word, what am I going to do? And that's kind of when you just have to, like, ask yourself, like, why am I worrying? Why am I stressing out? Why am I getting frustrated? That kind of deal. And sometimes I have to ask myself that often too. Like, why am I allowing this to happen to myself? Like this afternoon, I could have spent the whole afternoon playing video games or watching Christmas movies, but I chose it instead to spend time with you guys because I don't get this opportunity very often. And I absolutely love being open like this. I love being able to talk what's on my mind. I guess the best way to put it, when I get to YouTube, I feel extremely productive. And I have a example of why productivity is so important to me. When I was in high school, I had this principal. She was a very down to earth woman. And whenever I asked her how her day was, she said it was productive. And I heard that every single day. And, it made me think maybe I should start being productive. And I was really glad that God put me on that school because that school was really able to work on me a lot when I was younger. And I just actually rewatched a video that I made back when, or that kind of influenced me when I was in high school. Let me start over. I made this video about 2 years ago. However, though, it was because of something that happened back in high school that influenced me to do it. So, about 2 years ago, just before I left public supermarkets, I made this YouTube video titled Why Skillet Has Such an Huge Impact on My Life. And I basically went into how back in high school I had walked into the sanctuary and the very first song that came on was Monster, and I went into how I've seen them in concert several times, and I went into how I absolutely love listening to their music. I mentioned why Comatose and Whispers in the Dark are my favorite songs, but I also mentioned why the song Sick of It has such a huge impact on me now that I heard the story behind it. And I've gotten to the point in my life where when I look at my life now, I look back at my high school life as just that kind of that point in my life when I finally started to figure out who I was. That was literally the point of my life that shaped me to be who I am now. I'm not saying that ninth grade wasn't, didn't have an impact on me. Like, it did as far as the acting goes. Like, if it wasn't for ninth grade, I probably wouldn't have pursued acting again. That's only a probably, that's not a guarantee. But I feel like ninth grade was just that kind of weird point in my life. But ninth grade, what I take home from that years later, 12 years later, going on 13 years later, is my favorite moments were performing in the Agatha Christie play Mousetrap, and then this spoof of Mission Impossible. And that's really about it. But what the time period of my life that I really started to figure out who I was 10th grade through 12th grade. But as far as Christmas goes, as far as like, when did I start really taking Christmas seriously? Like, start seeing it as the day to celebrate God. And I mean, I've always seen it that way. But I feel like I've really started taking it more seriously in just the past couple of years. I was going to this church called Serve Church SURV, got the name from Joshua chapter 24, verse 15, for as me and my house will serve the Lord. that verse basically. And we did some Christmas stuff. We never did a candlelit service. We always went to a church in Davenport called Four Corners Baptist Church, the very first church that I officially started going to for their candlelight service. But for whatever reason, I didn't really start taking Christmas that seriously, just in my heart, until I moved out here. I feel like 2019 was when I personally started taking Christmas seriously. And I feel like the pandemic kind of woke me up a lot too. And I'm going to explain why. So, we went through the pandemic last year and we really got to see how tough things could be. And when my church finally did reopen again and started allowing people in, I was, so happy just to be able to be there. Like, I never thought that I would be so happy to attend church, honest. And then when we did our Christmas Eve service, I was truly blessed and thankful to even be there. And I just remember showing up at my church that evening. I was so thankful that I got off at 4:30 p.m. that Christmas Eve, and I got to church and I did a quick change and I hopped in the audio booth. And I just remember this urge of excitement that just rushed over me. Just being able to be in the audio booth running the video for the Christmas Eve service that we did live stream. That was the first time we had ever live streamed it. I attended the Christmas Eve service in 2019, but I barely even remember it. For whatever reason, just last year, I all of a sudden just really got hit hard. Just knowing how important Christmas is. I've always seen Christmas as my favorite time of the year, but when I first moved here in 2019, I was so blown away by the amount of things to do around here, all the cool lights, that I wasn't even really thinking about, keeping God as the number one reason. I almost feel like God was using the coronavirus to kind of wake Americans up, and not to mention the world for that matter. He definitely got my attention because I think that's why, for the first time, while sitting in a Christmas Eve service, I actually did get hit hard. And even a year later, almost, whereas we're 11 days away from Christmas Eve again, or just we are 11 days away from Christmas Eve. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, it's hard to believe that almost a year ago that I was in my church running video for the Christmas Eve service. And also another reason why I took Christmas a lot more seriously last year than I normally would have. When I was given the responsibility of cleaning the church and getting it ready for Christmas, I was beyond ecstatic, extremely excited. Because I was going to be the reason why the church was going to look good that Christmas Eve. So I went full force making sure everything looked good. And when we all came in on Christmas Eve, it looked amazing. And for the first time ever, I went into a church, specifically my own, on Christmas Eve, and I was like, wow, I can actually say that I was able to help make this happen. And the fact that I did it all for God's glory, and I really felt like God put me in the church for that time period that He did, so that I could truly sit down and realize that God has a reason for everything. And, I'm at the Ark Encounter now. And unfortunately, this year, I would have to say that I have been struggling keeping God number one constantly. And the reason why is, I'll listen to my Christmas music on my way to work. I'll listen to a various amount. I'll listen to the ones that glorify God and preach that, you know, God sent his son down to earth so he could be born in a manger. And then I'll listen to your secular Christmas music like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Jingle Bell Rock, and stuff like that. And, I'm listening to this stuff. And I'm like, just kind of jamming out to it in my head. And then I get to work and I get on the employee shuttle and I start listening to these various conversations. Then I get off behind the Ark and it's either super cold out or it's just right. And I just walk to the restaurant and then my head starts racing and I'm starting to think about how the day's going to go. Was the boss going to say? What are the managers going to say? Are the guests going to start treating me? And all of a sudden, God suddenly just no longer number one. Just like that. And I get in the restaurant and I notice that everybody else is not necessarily thinking the same way as me, but at the same time, you can't tell because all you can see is everybody just trying to get the restaurant open for 11 a.m. And then when people talk to me, they're telling me that they're like, especially the managers, that yeah, they are struggling just like me. And even my coworkers have been telling me, dude, you're not alone. So sometimes I automatically think that I'm by myself. Actually, a lot of the times I think I'm by myself. I literally think half the time, if not 75% of the time, that the moment that I see the restaurant, the Mazara's Kitchen, that I'm the only one that puts God in the background again. And that's not true. Because everybody else gets into that mindset like, oh, I'm at work, I just want to get through today. And then everybody's minds just go in a million miles direction, or at every single direction. When everybody comes to work at the Ark Encounter that I work with, everybody has different responsibilities. Even in the culinary department, not everybody has to do the same exact thing that I do. And I'm aware of that. What my coworker Joe does is completely different than what I have to do. And imagine what my boss has to do. My manager, my boss that is, has to literally worry about every single culinary employee, not to mention all of his assistant managers, all of his coordinators. And then he has to worry about all these other managers and all these other coordinators. And he has to worry about every single incoming delivery. He has to worry about every single person that wants to come and meet with him about some various thing. I can't even imagine how his mind has got to think. His mind has got to go at a million miles per hour too. But sometimes it's hard to think about that kind of stuff when you come to work and you get so focused on one thing. And right now we're doing this event called Christmas Time, and of course it's all a Christian perspective and all that stuff. And when I come into work, I should be thinking about God, and it's hard to do sometimes. Even though I'm working literally in a life-size ark, which is straight from the Bible, but yet my mind just gets so focused on other things. So when I do eventually get to the second deck, right next to the big door, which has a really cool projection of a cross on it, and the reason why is because the door leading to the ark itself is a representation that God is the only way into heaven, and that God was the only way into the ark. And God had opened that door for everyone to come. Actually, in the Noah interview, which you can buy inside the Ark Encounter gift shop, the guy who portrayed Noah in the film made this very valid point, because, I should say, So, uh, the lady who's interviewing him asked him, well, are there going to be other people that are allowed to go on the boat or on the ark? Noah says in response, well, God wants 2 by 2 of every single clean animal, male and female. And then, of course, me, my wife, my kids, and their wives. But whoever else God brings along, we will welcome. For the most part, that's true. If I remember correctly from the Bible, it specifically states that Noah had been preaching in the area the entire 120 years that the ark was under construction. And people kept rejecting God over and over and over again. And when the floodwaters did finally come, people, of course, believed at that point because now they could see it. So now they're like, oh, now we believe you. Well, God's like, well, you should have believed me for the past 120 years or so. But a lot of people wouldn't believe without the evidence because that's how people work. So God closed the door on them. And basically, God gave everybody that chance to choose between life and death, and He gave them 120 years to do so. And as soon as that time was up, God sealed that door, and everybody that was on the earth died except the 8 people on board, and that's straight from the Bible. Genesis. I know it's depressing, but if you think about it, everybody made those decisions on their own. They could have chose to accept crazy idea that there was going to be a worldwide flood, or they could have rejected it, and everybody rejected it, except for Noah and his family, so guess it's their own loss. Everybody that was, on the ground, but, you might be asking me, well, where am I getting at? Like, why are you even talking about Noah's Ark and all that stuff? So, I wanted to give you guys an idea of, what's the importance of the big door that I'm working right next to. And everybody loves taking pictures with it because everybody pretty much knows about it at this point. I mean, come on. The Ark is a pretty well-known wonder of the world at this point, and I wouldn't be surprised at this point if the Ark Encounter itself eventually becomes one of the most well-known wonders of the world. As people travel from all over the place just to come see it. And, I'm literally standing in the middle of one of the most amazing things from Scripture. And I'm standing right next to an extremely important biblical piece of biblical history. That's the reason why I went into all that detail, so you guys would understand that, I'm literally standing in something that completely represents the Bible, and yet I'm literally standing there staring off into outer space. I'm surrounded by God-related anything and everything. I'm sitting there listening to Christian artists talk about how they designed the fur for the animals inside the ark and for the restaurant. Or I'm watching people walking around just blown away by what they're seeing and just amount of stuff that we have for them. But yet, my mind just goes everywhere. It's one of those things, and it just makes you wonder, like, why? Because the problem with man today and it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. We all, unfortunately, really, we all unfortunately have that problem of showing up at our jobs and allowing ourselves to get distracted. Even during Christmas, when we should be keeping God number one no matter what. Our minds go anywhere, go everywhere. I'm not going to ask anybody, what you're thinking about, but I'm going to ask you rhetorically. Have you ever come to work, like myself, and just allowed your mind to just float around and start distracting you, start thinking about what you're going to do then later that day, or start worrying about how you're going to pay the bills on time, or something to that extent. And then I'm going to leave you guys with a challenge. This will be my conclusion. I challenge all of you, and I challenge myself in the process to try coming to work for the next several days or so. So I have exactly 9 more days left until I go on my vacation, right? I work, technically, I work the 14th through the 22nd, so 8 days altogether, but I'm going to go with 9 anyway. I'm going to go with, so starting tomorrow until the 22nd, I'm going to challenge myself to try to come to work. I'm going to challenge all of you too, since I'm going to do this challenge with you guys. Try to come to work and just to focus on God mainly. That doesn't mean you can't let your mind get distracted. That doesn't mean you can't let. That doesn't mean your mind can't wander. But just to keep trying to bring it back to God. Why am I at my job today? Why am I at college today? Why is, this happening? Maybe God has a reason for it. Stop and pray to God. If you have any time, do it. I've been reading this book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. The author said his favorite time of the day is about 3:30 in the morning or so, when absolutely nobody's awake. If you have to, find a time of the day, even if it's like the most ridiculous time of the day. Just kind of sit there and, just think, pray, whatever you need to do. Anything you need to do just to kind of clear your mind. Even if you have to write down everything that's bothering you and then burn it up, tear it up, whatever you need to do. I know I keep saying that, but I really mean it. Because the last thing you want to do is to go to bed with your mind racing, or even wake up with your mind racing. If you have a lot on your mind, don't force yourself to go to sleep and go, I'll get over it. No, you won't. Not that easily. If I can't, then that says a lot. And I'm a pretty tough guy, so. This ended up being my second longest vlog of the afternoon. But I pray and hope that I made an impact on you guys, and that you will pray and think about everything that I encouraged you with today. And a little bit I'm going to be going down to light up the fair, so I look forward to seeing you guys when I get over there. I have to put on a coat when I get out of the car over there, because what is it? It's, hold on. It's 52 degrees out. It's not too bad, but still. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next vlog. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out.